Okay, hello and thank you everybody for coming to another lecture of Hempology 101. And yeah, it's always a pleasure to be up here to share what I can about this plant and what is being done to bring it back to its fruition, you could say. And today's lecture on cannabis activism is one that I'm probably best at in some sense, in that I've been a cannabis activist for now, next month will be 17 years, or I guess it'll be January, really 17 years that I went to the States. It's been a very interesting life career path. And so today I hope to maybe on some hand inspire a few people towards that path, or at least encourage others into activism, because not everyone needs to be a full-time activist like me to be doing cannabis activism or to be helping in the revival of cannabis. In fact, what it really comes down to is everybody doing their little part, and activists like me that are full-time helping to coordinate that. But we need a lot of things to change in our society, in my opinion, to be as healthy and vibrant as we and our planet could be. And cannabis is part of that picture. And so today, again, I hope to just kind of highlight some little things people can do. But the way I'll do that is to actually highlight some different activists that I've met and stories of them, to show how, again, little things can lead to bigger things, and even then, just that the little things do matter. And so even coming to this meeting here, certainly, and being involved in sharing information and just talking about it is the first and easiest step to be a cannabis activist, because you don't have to be at a rally or a meeting to bring up cannabis and educate people or enlighten them, or to give cannabis users a good image as well, because we're dealing with some significant image problems as well. And so portraying people who use cannabis as intelligent, compassionate members of the community is really important. And that goes for little things like accommodating for other people when you're smoking in public. I think it's important for people to smoke in public for a bunch of reasons, and part of it is to demystify who cannabis users are and how they behave. If more and more people that use cannabis behind closed doors were to do it more publicly, I think some people's perception would change, because it isn't people that are homeless living on the street or otherwise, a bunch of anarchists that smoke pot. It's everyday people. If you're coming to our buyers club, for example, the vast majority of people that come to our club for medicine just look like, kind of normal citizens, teachers, nurses, real estate agents, and unfortunately, that isn't the image that we're fighting against. The image that we're fighting against is Cheech and Chong. And so, it's important for us to, again, be smoking cannabis and speaking about it in ways that counter that image, and just by being respectful of other people, but at the same time, forward, I think is really important. Now, the next step to go from speaking about it is to writing about it. When they say the pen is mightier than the sword, I think it's in some ways quite true, because while swords can kill people and kill opponents, swords can't kill ideals. And what we need to do is fight an ideal, and part of that is to portray a good image. But certainly part of this war is a war of words, and in writing, people are able to express themselves to far more than the individuals in the room with them. And it depends on what you're writing for. If you have your own internet blog that not a lot of people see, well, that might not have a great impact. Writing letters to the editor, though, does have a great impact. And there are some very prolific letter writers in this country. Russell Barth certainly needs to be mentioned, that are incredible at not only finding the places to write to, because with the internet now, a whole world is opened up for writers to, in the case of Russell, pinpoint different publications that will publish stories about police raids or different issues that come up, and like the crime bill and stuff, and in writing literally thousands of letters a year, Russell has really done a great job in being published across the country in newspapers big and small, and countering some of the suggestions that reporters or police officers have made. And his work has been invaluable, and it's really not that hard to do, and most of us don't like writing to the editor for a bunch of reasons, but it does have an impact. Even if it doesn't get printed, usually the editorial department will read it, and in some cases with larger publications, they need to see a certain number of letters come in on a subject before they print them, and then the more letters that do come in, the more that they will print. And this is an area that actually here in Victoria, I don't think we've done a very good job at, in terms of when we've gone to court, for example, and we have another court case coming up here. Members of our club and public could have been writing to the newspaper to either add points that were brought up, reinforce some of the statements that people make in these papers, or comment. We haven't done a very good job, in my opinion, working the media like that when we've been to court. We have another trial coming up January, and I'd like to see a lot more people writing about how important cookies are during that trial, because we are going to want to hit the media on all levels there. Yeah, writing letters to the editor of papers big and small, or even making phone calls, which is something that can be more anonymous and sort of easier to do. It's far too common that the media will print stories about police raids and stuff, but they won't give the other side of the picture. And I think it's important for us to make the media accountable for their stories, to at least print balanced stories, because you can be sure every time they print a story about us and the work we do, they're calling up the police to find out about their opinion. And I think that we deserve the same, but it's not often the case. Yeah, writing to newspapers, or even if you're a good writer, taking it further and trying to be a contributing writer to publications, not just cannabis ones like the Cannabis Digest, but there's a lot of other publications, Common Ground, Absolute Underground. We're seeing a lot of sort of niche media appear in print, and those publications quite often are open to well-written articles that they don't have to edit. And if you're going to write for free, most of these publications, would accept that quite generously. And so, it's something that, something the size of Monday Magazine, well, that's not so easy to get in on. But again, there are a lot of smaller publications similar to ours that would accept information if it was properly presented to them. Certainly dealing with the media, though, isn't something that everybody can do. And before I touched upon some of these other things, I wanted to talk about some of the simpler day-to-day things that everybody could do that is cannabis activism, but maybe with a small a instead of a big A. Certainly, using cannabis in any of its forms, whether you're smoking it, whether you're eating it, whether you're going to wear it out and show everybody that you think of your hemp pants, or consuming cannabis is not only, I think, really good for you and everyone else, basically, in that you're not consuming other products that are usually a lot more harmful to the environment. But it also is good for the cannabis economy. And so right now, we're in pretty dark situation politically, but economically, the cannabis industry has never been stronger. And the more people that are buying seeds from seed banks and buying, T-shirts from hemp stores, buying good hemp seed, and obviously growing or smoking cannabis, you're supporting that industry, and it's really, I think, the easiest way for people to support cannabis activism. And secondly, it's an opportunity, I think, for people to become cannabis entrepreneurs. Because a lot of us have taken our hobbies and turned it into an actual cannabis business. And so I think, I want to talk about some of the different activists. I didn't grab all my toys around, but I wanted to, for example, highlight Lawrence Chernak, crazy bugger that came to a lecture last year. Really awesome guy, and trained in theater, not trained as a cannabis activist. They don't do that right now. But Lawrence likes taking pictures. He likes traveling, and he likes hashish, right? Like, how many people like taking pictures, traveling, and smoking hashish? I imagine there's a few of you around. Well, Lawrence took those things that he loved and made it into books. And in fact, there's like 4 or 5 of his books. I didn't bring them all down to the club. But Lawrence has done exceptionally well for himself, going to places like Afghanistan when the Russians were trying to take it over in the 80s, and he'd like go up into the mountains and take pictures of people smoking hashish, and they actually all thought it was kind of funny that somebody would risk, going through all these dangerous places where everybody and their mother had a gun except Lawrence, because he just was interested in the hash. But he again has done very well for himself, taking a passion and making a business and keeping himself quite busy with that. And I should say as well, taking pictures at different events is another really easy thing to do. The internet these days makes it too easy for anybody to be a cannabis activist, right? The combination of just purchasing and supporting the industry and working on the net really makes it so that you can do just about anything you want, and taking pictures and spreading them around, putting them up on forums, and putting comments on them as well is a really good way to, again, break down some of the images and just have more fun and make cannabis part of everyday life. I think that is part of what we need to do, not only for ourselves but for the community around us. That and we've done a great job of that here in Victoria. I'm more talking to people watching online. But I think normalizing cannabis use is really important, and there's some really simple ways of doing that as well. One of them is to wear cannabis leaves and pot t-shirts and stickers and buttons. I think is a really great way to help bring people's level of fear down. And the more people that see pot leaves all over the place, or the more that people see that, the less fear that they're going to have about being open themselves or talking about it themselves. And so I think that part of normalizing cannabis use, again, is wearing pot t-shirts. I got to show off my tie, if you can see it later. It's nice, crispy, snap, crackle, and pop, smoking some joints. So it's again, something that's obviously fun to wear, and it gets people laughing, and it's I think a great benefit to cannabis consumers and cannabis lovers if more and more of us are willing to be loud and proud and kind of come out of the closet. That's sort of the challenge that we're facing. The difference, I shouldn't say the difference between, because homosexuals, they were in a way being punished and criminalized and beaten, and part of what they did and their strategies, I think, coming out of the closet is what we need to do as well. And so again, wearing pot leaves and doing it at normal activities.